Hi, and welcome to Amplify, highlighting the good across Polk County schools, amplifying the voices, stories, and people that make our district shine. I'm your host, Tanya Ramirez from Teacher Engagement. Today, I'm excited to be speaking with Ms. Ashley Scott from Sleepy Hill Elementary School. Hi, can you please introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about your position and your prior experience?
Absolutely. Hi, Tanya. Thank you so much for having me. Um, so I am the school counselor at Sleepy Hill Elementary. I'll be entering my 6th year at that school and 7th year with Polk County as a counselor this year. Before working as a counselor, I was an ESE teacher, and I primarily worked with students with autism, but I also worked at a trauma-informed um, school where we worked with kiddos who were in foster care or adoptive families.
Oh, great. And when we were looking at nominations, you were selected because this has been a standout year for your elementary counseling department at Sleepy Hill. And one of your coworkers, Miss Rachel, is it Coombs? She
Yes.
earned her Rising Star Award from the Florida School Counselor Association, and
hmm
you were nominated for Counselor of the Year. So, what do
hmm
you think contributed to this momentum and success that you've seen overall?
Um, so I would say most of it came from school counselors starting to showcase what they already are doing. So we're not really doing anything different or, monumental this year, but we're talking about it more. So things like the Rising Star Award from FISCA, this was its first year, and Rachel does an amazing job at her school with her programming, and she was able to highlight the things that she does for students to support the overall goals of her school. And I think counselors in Polk in general are stepping out and sharing what we do um, more than we have probably in several years. I know we've had years where we had some really active people, but I think awareness is really vital to our roles, and our counselors are try to be humble people and don't really talk about all the things that they do. So we had some trainings put on the past couple years that talk about how to highlight the impact of your program using data and like how to share that with families and your administration so that everybody has those conversations of how this is important and what it does for our students.
Good. And I think that is important because sometimes the other teachers are unaware of what you're actually doing and how it impacts them in the classroom because you have such an impact on students. And so it's good to highlight that. And in addition to being nominated as Counselor of the Year, you've also been elected as the chair of the Florida School Counselors Association for the upcoming school year.
Mhm.
What are your goals for this organization while you're in that leadership role?
So, as a whole, the board is working towards streamlining our bylaws and operations manuals to ensure the long-term success of the organization. Um, but one of the main goals that we have this year is we had a huge win in the end of May with the passing of House Bill 753. Our advocacy team, like Carmen and Belinda, they worked so hard for years to get this bill in front of the right people and present the importance of school counselors. So the main takeaways with that bill are that school counselors will be evaluated based on school counseling standards, which are like the resiliency standards in Polk, and that they will only need the subject area exam for their teaching certificate. So this year, as an organization, we're really focusing on supporting the implementation of that bill, which has already begun with the release of the evaluation toolkit.
Awesome, that's great. And at your own school, you implemented a solution-focused approach to MTSS and your counseling services. Can you break
Mhm.
down what that looks like in practice on a day-to-day and why did it work so well?
Absolutely. So this is one of my favorite subjects and where I kind of have to edit myself because I could talk forever. Um, I think the approach worked so well because I was fully committed to using it as a framework. And I got a lot of buy-in from the students and the teachers and the families because I integrated it into everything that we did. So the solution focused approach is all about focusing on what works and doing that more. And a lot of times we get it mixed up and we think it's like the process of finding the problems and then finding solutions for those problems. But that keeps us in a negative mindset. So solution focused approach looks for exceptions and the success. So questions shift from things like what's wrong to what's right. And that's really, really powerful for just humans in general, but especially in a school setting when so much of our job is, data driven and test scores and things like that. It's really important for the kids to see their successes and understand that not only is success possible, but they've done it before. So we're working to recreate those situations and those supports that work for them. And I think that's why it was so important and so valuable this year was just that the students and the families really started to see, hey, this isn't something new. We've been doing this, and we've had success in various ways. So how can we just increase that?
That's great. Um, and in addition to that, you saw improvements in the behavior, the academic scores, and the student learning goals. What changes or strategies do you think made the biggest difference in seeing those growths?
So it's 100% a team effort. The counseling department definitely provided a lot of support and I helped, us work towards our goals, but everyone was what made us successful this year. And we are up to a B school, so I'm excited for that.
Congratulations. Yeah.
Thank you. Um, so one of the things that we did this year was we started with resource packets that went to each teacher. And then we also had resource packets for families and for students. So the teacher packet was really big. It's like 40 pages. Um, but it had different MTSS strategies. It had different data collection options, different interventions that they could use for behavior, reading, math, just all sorts of resources where it was one central location that they could find things. And then for the families, we had the same kind of thing, solution focused approaches to integrating learning into their everyday activities. So, how to add in some reading time, how to integrate math into things like cooking and learning some strategies for positive conversation skills that parents can and caregivers can just integrate very easily into their everyday life. So that was really important. And then my principal this year, Mrs. Jones, and our AP, Dr. Bonnie, both supported me with working with groups. So in January, I started with like 5 groups a week. And by May, when we were finishing everything up, I was running 11 groups per week, which is a lot. So, but it was amazing because every third grade class was a group and I met with them weekly. We focused on a program that builds hope. And it was one that was provided in one of our elementary trainings. The kids loved it. It fit perfectly with the solution focus approach and framework. And it was fun because we got to celebrate their success. My principal gave me a bulletin board and she gave me a table at our family night. So she was really supportive in allowing me to showcase what was going on.
Oh, that's great. I love that. Um, and many people don't fully understand the scope of what a school counselor's role is. What do you wish that more families and educators and just people in the community knew about the impact that counselors have?
So I think it's really difficult to understand a role you've never filled. Um, But I also think that school counseling has kind of shifted over the past several decades, and those shifts have been difficult to understand. So, I still hear a lot of people who refer to school counselors as guidance counselors, and the title changed in 1990, but a lot of our districts didn't shift until the past like 5 to 10 years. Even the state with the state exam only shifted a few years ago. So with that title, a lot of people don't understand that school counselors do have the same, if or almost the same training as a mental health counselor. Um, they provide real support to students, and we can help bolster the overall success and wellness of our students if given the opportunity. So we wear a lot of hats at a school, just like everyone else does. And some of those roles that we fill, like 504 coordinator, IEP referral coordinator, testing, scheduling, the MTSS coordinator, those are areas that we fill because somebody needs to do it, but they're not the areas where we make the most impact. So when we're able to serve students and families with individual supports, group counseling, classroom lessons or lunch lessons, career education, resiliency programming, that's where we're able to make the most impact. And sometimes it doesn't look like that's necessarily what we're doing. I go and have lunch with the kids a lot. And it might look like I'm just, trying to sit around and hang out with the kids, but I'm building a rapport. And then later, if a kid gets really frustrated in class and I go to de-escalate with them, I have a framework to work from. I know that they love baseball. And so instead of talking about what's going on in class, we're talking about baseball for a few minutes to get their minds off of whatever frustrated them until we can circle back. I know a lot of the middle high counselors, like when they're out on the quad talking to kids, they're talking about college application processes and jobs that the kids might be interested in, and how do you apply for those things. So I think the way that our work looks can sometimes look like we're not really working, I guess. But just that all of those connections are what really helps our students to feel seen and heard, and to really know that they are capable of doing anything they set their minds to. It helps us get them the right services, the right supports. And I would love for parents and families to know that, all of those minutes matter. I think that that's something that we all have to remember. Every single moment can be the opportunity to make a positive change.
Yeah. And some of that stuff you said, I wasn't even aware of the guidance counselor thing. I didn't realize
Yeah,
that changed all the way back in the 90s because I still hear it today very frequently.
absolutely. Yeah.
That's very interesting. Thank you so much for talking with me today. Before we wrap up, I have one last question that I just ask all of my guests for fun. What was your favorite cartoon when you were growing up?
I think probably Winnie the Pooh. I loved like the Disney Winnie the Pooh sing-alongs, and I loved the books too. So it was fun to listen to the books with my mom and then watch the show.
My daughter's nursery was Winnie the Pooh, so I get that.
My
Yeah.
son's was too.
Love that. Well, thank you so much for talking to us today, and to everybody listening, thank you for watching. And until next time, keep amplifying the good. I'm Tanya Ramirez. Goodbye.